Welcome to the Great British Quilter podcast. I'm Sarah Ashford, and as a modern quilter and founder of the Great British Quilter Instagram Challenge, I've spent the last 3 years galvanising and championing British quilters and the quilting industry. In this series, I speak to British quilt designers, fabric companies, publishers and shop owners to discover their behind-the-scenes stories and to discuss what it means to be a part of the British quilting community today. I'm thrilled to be able to share with you more details about my two generous sponsors for this episode, My Bare Paw Quilting Shop and Stitchtopia Craft Holidays. My Bare Paw is Edinburgh's premier fabric shop for quilters, stocking a full range of Liberty Craft cotton, a huge selection of Kona solids, and a wide range of designs from Robert Kaufman, Riley Blake, Dashwood Studio, Tilda and Michael Miller. They also stock generous yarns, Orifil thread, and all the quilting notions you could need. Joe Avery and a team of experienced tutors offer a fantastic selection of regular workshops in quilting, crochet, embroidery and bag making. Plus, you can buy Joe's Orifil thread collections and specially curated fat quarter bundles from their online store at mybarepaw.com. My second sponsor is Stitchtopia Craft Holidays. Part of the Arena Travel brand, they offer stitching, knitting, crochet, cross-stitch and embroidery holidays in the UK, Europe and worldwide. Each of their small group tours are accompanied by an expert in the craft and an experienced tour manager and stay in good quality accommodation, usually 4-star hotels. Workshops with their experts are included on most tours and many include exclusive behind closed doors visits. Single guests are welcomed and looked after. To find out more, visit their website www.arenatravel.com. I travelled up to Edinburgh this October to meet with Jenny Smith and Kay Walsh, and we met at Joe Avery's shop, My Bare Paw, to record this podcast. We were all visiting tutors getting ready to teach at Joe's annual Stitch Gathering sewing retreat. It was such a pleasure to learn more about Jenny and Kay's projects, and I hope you enjoy listening to their interview as much as I did speaking with them. Hello Jenny and Kay, it's lovely to have you here and to see you again after seeing you at the Festival of Quilts this summer. So we are in Joe Avery's shop in Edinburgh and My Bare Paw, and you're here because you're teaching Jenny at the Stitch Gathering on Sunday, aren't you?
Yeah, it's my first time at the Stitch Gathering, so it's really lovely. We've had a really nice drive up today and it's going to be exciting. I'm teaching a workshop on Manx log cabin blocks in the morning, which is something that a friend of mine who sadly passed away in her 40s, she taught me how to do it. And so, it's a really lovely thing to be able to pass that skill on to some new people.
So what is a Manx log cabin?
Well, it originated on the
Isle of Man.
On the Isle of Man. And basically, all the measurements that you do for it are based on your own hand. So the span of your hand determines the width of the foundation block, and then you use the measurements of your finger and your thumb and the idea is that in that period of time people would have been using up scraps and everything, and they wouldn't have had any specialist equipment, so they would have bitten or teared the strips of fabric and measure by hand, and then they use a double thread on the needle so that you could stitch in paw light. And my friend Anne-Marie had a house there, and she was taught it at one of the TT races, the motorbike races on the island.
They're famous.
So she sat on a wall, and an old lady next to her taught her how to do this Manx log cabin, and then she taught us and my friends when we were all sewing together. So it's kind of one of those things that's lovely.
And that's the wonderful thing about quilting, isn't it? Skills get passed on between friends and families and generations.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
That's fantastic. It's not something I'd heard of before.
And then some cyanotype printing, so using the strength of the sun to make prints and impressions onto fabric that you could then use in a quilt project as well. So 2 different things, but no sewing machines required, which is quite interesting. We're travelling light this time. So.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. So you're here together today, but how did you two first meet?
Well, we met when we were tap dancing.
Right, yes, I knew you were dancers. Can you tell me
So we, I think both kind of after children had gone to this dance class in our local town, and we met, so we were tapping and we got chatting, and another friend of mine and I had done a little bit of sewing at the time. We're trying to get into it after having little children, and then must have ended up talking to Jenny about quilting, and she said, "Oh, well, I can teach how to quilt." She said, I've got a couple of other people. She'd advertised a thing at school to say that she could maybe teach a few people who wanted to learn how to quilt. So we got about 3 or 4 of us together, and we used to go around to Jenny's kind of every week and sit in her kitchen, and she taught us how to quilt. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
How long ago was that then?
I think it's about
10 years, yeah, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's proper old school, like cutting up cereal packets, sandpaper to stop your fabric from slipping, no specialist tools.
No rotary cutters.
No, but just, I'd lived in Canada for a year and had learned over there, like been to some proper classes and then hadn't stopped really. So it was like I wouldn't have had the confidence, I don't think, to set up classes officially at that time, but there was this promises auction at school, so you could promise to give something, a skill or a physical object as well, but and the money that you got from that went to the school.
Yes.
So I thought that was a nice way into it really, so I'm kind of grateful that I decided to do that, and we had a nice time, and we kind of haven't stopped.
Sold a lot.
and then we haven't stopped really, have we?
And you've progressed from the kitchen table now, Jenny, haven't you? And you've got a beautiful studio that I've seen in your garden.
Yeah. Kay's got a key actually, I really.
Yeah.
But yes, I built a studio 3 years ago. We did a big renovation project at home, so it's the front garden had lots of use for the children over the years, but was a bit more redundant. So I built a studio space in there, and it's really lovely. It's really light and cosy, and it's just a place really. I work in there. It's really, because the kids are still quite young and everything, and when you're trying to juggle building a business and your family, it means I can be there in a couple of minutes. I can nip in and out. I can work in the evening, so it gives me that flexibility. And then 3 years ago as well, when my son started school, then I also took on a space in the town where we live in Ilkley, and to start teaching from. So that's more geared up. We've got like 8 or 9 sewing machines and overlockers. So
you run workshops from there in town, do you?
Yeah, so Kay and I work together. We teach every week, don't we? A series of different workshops, and we've got lots of regulars, and then we do one-off classes and have guest tutors and everything in Ilkley. So that's the workspace as well. So my friends joke and call me Jenny 2 Studios because I realise I'm a bit spoiled, but it works, and we cover the costs and make it work, don't we? So it's good.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, brilliant. So you've got a very exciting project that you're working on this year, the Just One Quilt project. And I know you've been here this afternoon speaking with Jo, which has been really, really great to watch actually from the sidelines. So can you tell us more about how this idea came about and how's it going?
Yeah, so the Just One Quilt project is 52 short films that we started in April. So we thought, okay, to make something a thing, you need to do it regularly. Let's do this. We'll make 1 film a week for a year, and we got some sponsorship from Genomi and Aurifil, and just decided the main idea was really, I read a bit of a business book. We've been doing sewing patterns, we've been teaching, doing different things, and I was reading this book that was trying to get you to think what you really want to do, what makes you excited, what you get enjoyment from, and you had to kind of make notes and work through different chapters. And by the end of it, I'd written down in this scribbled sentence that really I thought that my big ambition was to encourage everyone to make just one quilt in their lifetime, which I guess I do week by week. I've converted lots of people where we live, haven't I? And you're like, you can do so much through physically teaching and everything, but it's trying to make it a little bit bigger than that. And why I want to do that is because I know that there's so many benefits that people get from quilting that are really important, and that maybe people don't necessarily take the time to share, I think, often. And I hear that through teaching each week, people telling the stories, and I know and witness that it builds people's confidence, that people struggling with anxiety get a lot from quilting, bereavement. Like, there's so many things that go on in people's lives where quilting has a huge impact on them. But it was like, how can I start to tell people that and articulate it really? So just by filming those stories, it means people share their thoughts, and the videos are much less about the technical details of a quilt. So normally there's one quilt that's the focus of the film, and people will talk about that if it's relevant, but really what I wanted is to get down to the emotional stuff and why we quilt and explore all those areas really. And it's working, I think. That's the thing, people who are watching are having really nice reactions to it, but actually the people who are taking part themselves as well, who maybe wouldn't think they'd want to be on camera or will say, I haven't got anything special to say, suddenly when they start talking, and often they haven't really thought about it, but subconsciously there's a lot going on. I don't think anybody makes quilts for no reason at all. I think there's always a kind of driving force, so being able to explore that is really nice. And people who then made the films, which wasn't something I'd anticipated as much. I thought the films would have people would be interested in them, but actually the people who have taken part have come back to us afterwards and said, you know, that they got a lot from that process as well, and being able to share that story, and then that's on record, isn't it? And it exists.
Yeah.
And
it's a very personal journey, isn't it? Making a quilt, and it's a long process.
It's a long process. You put a lot of effort into it, and I think we'd also realised at class that, you know, you make a quilt, you might give it to someone, you might gift it, whatever, and then you don't really get a chance to talk about it or say what it might have meant to you or why you might have done it. And actually, when we have filmed people and they've had that chance, it's really nice for them to put that across and think about what they've got out of it, making it, as well as maybe gifting it or whatever. So it has been really nice to hear people's stories.
Yeah,
it's trying to reach beyond, because obviously we know lots of people in the quilty world and people listening to this, and on Instagram you have your own community, but a lot of the people, so you can watch the films on my YouTube on Jenny Smith Sews, and then also on the Just One Quilt blog each week. So there's a blog and a film, but a lot of people will then share their story on Facebook, and that's it, and that's them showing some of their friends who may not even know. Like, it's funny, people are like, I'm a quilter, like there's something to be ashamed of, or something, you know. And then they share it on their Facebook page, and people watch their films, and then they're like, oh right, oh that's what a quilt is, or that's why people do it. And so it's trying, you know, it's a harder task, I think, to convert everybody, but that's the real mission, is for people who quilting might have never been on their radar to suddenly think, oh right, okay,
actually this is something I could do.
Yeah.
Or it looks really fun.
Yeah, or look what that person's got from that experience. Maybe that would be the same for me. So yeah, and we've had a lot going on this year with other projects. So once I'd come up with the idea and we decided to do it, it was like, we really got time to do this, and yet it's been the one thing, because we're doing it week on week, that's really motivated us and that we're finding really exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's a big commitment, 52.
It is.
It's taken you up and down the country, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely to get out of Yorkshire here, and we filmed when we were over in Nashville, we filmed some when we were at Festival of Quilts.
We need to come down south.
Yeah, we want to come and see you guys.
That would be fantastic.
So Just One Quilt on the road is the...
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the work with the Quilters Guild and their the Red Manor House quilt and the Block of the Month?
Yeah, so we were really excited to be involved with the Guild's first Block of the Month. So we, first of all, spent a day at the Guild with Heather, looking
up in York,
yes, looking at the coverlet that we used as inspiration for the Block of the Month. So we spent time looking at it and photographing it and thinking about the different elements that we might want to put into a quilt. And then we went away and thought about the design, and I think what we were trying to do was incorporate lots of different techniques. So foundation paper piecing, applique, normal piecing, and hopefully, you know, it'd be something that maybe something for everyone, whether you've done quilting or not.
And a good skill builder.
A good skill builder, yeah, that was the idea. You know, if we start off with something and then it builds, and if people want to just do a bit of it, that's fine. Or hopefully they might want to go on and do more. So we took inspiration from lots of the different elements in the coverlet, which I know you've seen, and there's some fairly crazy stuff in there that we weren't entirely sure what it was, what the animals were.
Animals were a little bit hard to
So we interpreted maybe some of them. For example, there were geese in there, but we decided to do flying geese. on our quilt. So we've kind of, played with some of the elements in there to make it hopefully a modern quilt that people might want to make.
And that's the thing, it's just a starting point.
It's just a starting point. And it's nice because we already know, for example, there's people we know from our town who've got a little group together and they're going to make it as a group. So hopefully we'll find that there'll be little groups all around that are maybe in guilds or not, or people that have never quilted before that might feel like they can give it a go. There's the films that are going with it. Jenny's filmed the first one for the first month, which is out now.
And when can people see that?
They can find everything on the Quilt Guild website.
Right.
And they can sign up there, and you can just do one block, I believe. You can do 1 month if you want and give it a go, see what you think, or you can sign up for the year, and then every month they'll send you the block for that month. Yes, and there'll be videos for all of them, and lots of people have got involved in the filming. Joe's done some, so that's an extra little help for people.
And that's great, isn't it? Because people learn in different ways, don't they? And some people like to read the instructions, some people like to see it demonstrated.
Absolutely,
so this way there's something for everyone. Hopefully it's accessible for everyone.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah. So that was
plenty of people have signed up and are doing it. So the exciting part for us now is to start to see what people make. Like at the Guild AGM, people were saying, the central block's a house. And they were saying, we could put a bit of a local spin on that house based on where we live, or I think it'll be nice to see how people make it their own as well. Really. So that'll be a lovely bit for us, won't it? After all the many months of work, to start seeing some lovely things that people have made.
Right. Seeing it come to life, and the whole quilting community making their own versions.
Definitely.
Wow, that's really exciting. And you have another exciting project that's been going on. I honestly don't know how you fit it all in.
I'm feeling quite tired just listening to this. We are quite tired, to be fair, aren't we? It's been a crazy year, but anyway.
It really has for you. So you're actually, you have written a book in conjunction with Liberty.
Yes.
Using Liberty fabrics. Can you tell us more about that then?
Yes, so the book is called Quilting with Liberty Fabrics. So they haven't ever done a quilting book before, and we've worked together with them. So it's the idea, basically, I've collected Liberty fabrics since I was about 8 years old, because they used to print at a mill in Lancashire where my nan used to sometimes take me. And I studied art history at university, so I love the kind of stories and reading paintings and everything like that. And for a few years I had this idea in my head, and the more I learned to think about Liberty, they had an exhibition in London that we went down to, didn't they, at the Fashion and Textile Museum, that Liberty had this amazing history itself, and it'll be 145 years old, the company, next year. So at one point I thought, it'd be brilliant if you could tell the story of Liberty through quilts somehow. So basically there's 15 projects in the book, and one is based on each decade of Liberty's history. So either the quilt design or the fabrics that we've used to represent that decade will tell you the journey of Liberty from, being started by Arthur Lazenby Liberty back in 1875 as a family business, to grow into what it is now, which is probably like the world's favourite haberdashery, and their Tana lawn cottons and their quilting cottons, both of which are in the book. So it was an idea that then became a reality once we reached out to various people, and in the end we've been able to work with Lucky Spool, who are a publisher based in America. So again, it's been a transatlantic relationship to get it all done, but they make beautiful quilt books, and I've loved what they've produced in the past few years. So it was when I spoke to Suzanne Woods the first time, I was like, she totally got what I was trying to do and what the idea was. And so we've designed all the quilts ourselves. They're all original designs. We've made them all.
So both of you have made all 15 quilts?
Yes. There's a really nice project in the book. One of them, I wanted one project in the book to have that community element and be a simple repeated block, so that lots of people could get involved, because we've got a lot of lovely friends we wanted to include in the book, and people around the world who love Liberty. So that was a really nice project. So then I was getting all these little blocks in the post and we were stitching them together. And
that's such a lovely thing to do, because quilters historically have worked collectively, haven't they?
Yeah.
And community is so important, isn't
Yes,
it, I think, to
absolutely.
quilters. So it was a lovely thing to be able to do.
And lots of others of our students, we had people over the summer, we were on a deadline. They flew over from the States a couple of weeks ago to do the photography in England, so we had a deadline that couldn't not be met in a way, so people were coming in and just helping like hand sew the bindings down. And so the biggest takeaway from it, I think, is that when you're aiming towards a big goal, and it's been a big book, a big project to do, that we've been lucky, haven't we?
Yeah.
That we've had
All hands on deck.
definitely, and that's the nicest part of it, really. So it's now gone into design and finishing it off, and it will be out next spring. So spring 2020.
Oh, that's so exciting! Oh, congratulations!
Thank
I can't
you.
wait to get my hands on it.
And it was nice because we got to use some of the fabrics in a couple of the projects towards the end of the book, collections that will be out when the book comes out. So
Right.
we, like for me, it was kind of a dream come true to be able to
Sneak peeks
at things. And also, Liberty have got over 46,000 prints in their archive, so we've been able to work with the archivist and everything as well to bring it all together. So it's been really exciting, hasn't it? And I hope that everyone will like it when it appears on the bookshelves. And also, I mean, the thing with Liberty is it's kind of going to be a lovely book because it's got Liberty fabrics in it. But what we really wanted as well was to have projects in there that people will make. Don't want it to just be a coffee table book.
Yes.
Like we've tried to, like with the block of the month, we've tried to include quilts that will build people's skills, that are accessible, that will challenge people who already know how to quilt, and so that it appeals to everyone. But we can't wait, again, like with the block of the month, we want people to make the things and share them. Definitely.
Yes.
So hopefully that's the goal anyway.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic! Oh, I can't wait to see it, and I might have a little block of my own.
Exactly. Yes, with some very nice colour choices, I remember, and that's nice. I mean, I could go through probably that.
I think you can remember
everyone, which is lovely.
Yeah. Oh,
and the fabric names.
And before we end, I like to finish with a top tip for the listeners. So I thought if you could come up with one each, that would be fantastic. So I know you've been thinking about this on your journey up here.
Yeah.
So,
and I think mine would be something that comes out when we teach in class is that we would generally say to people, if you're going to make something, do it with a fabric that you love. There's no point just making something and thinking, oh, well, actually, I don't really like that because I don't like that fabric. You're going to put time, you're going to put effort into it. You might as well love the thing that you create at the end, because then you'd be more encouraged to hopefully go and make something else as well.
Definitely.
So, cut into that fabric.
There's no point, is there?
There's no point. I love stroking fabric, but...
Maybe just keep a little bit behind, but just use it.
Use it, yeah.
And Jenny, what were your thoughts?
Well, I guess because my hobby has become more of a business now.
Yes.
Although, I mean, it's still my hobby as well. But it's what I think I've learned in a creative business is the possibility that it gives you to reimagine your business on a daily basis and not being afraid to change direction if something isn't working. We sit down together quite a lot and say, right, what bit of that did we really enjoy? What bit of that gets us excited? How can we do more of that? And equally, like we'll say, I didn't really enjoy doing that bit so much, therefore we try and steer away from that. And it's not like you failed at something, but I just think if something isn't working, then you're better trying to focus on something that really is. And big businesses, it's harder for them to be so agile, really. But I just think allowing yourself that, that time and
it's evolving, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just have to constantly evolve to what's working, what you're enjoying.
Exactly. Kind of where I did this little course called Entrepreneurial Spark for a few months, and they called it pivoting. So it's just like, you're not failing at anything, you're just slightly pivoting and changing direction, and the ability to do that can be really good fun, and then you might discover new things as well. And I think also probably being like never giving up as well, because I was telling Kay about 5 years ago, Liberty do an open call where you can go and queue up and present your work to the buyers. And so 5 years ago, I remember being stood at 4 o'clock in the morning in the rain, outside Liberty with, at the time I was making cards and things with their fabrics, you know, queuing up to see the buyer who was like, oh, very nice, but no, thank you. And since then I've been back, you know, numerous times to the store trying to make contact with people doing different things. And, you know, eventually, like, to be working with them now and for them to have supported the book is a great thing. But it isn't luck. It's come about through
hard work
and failing and being turned away, but not getting disheartened and thinking, no, come on, I really want to do this, or maybe that would work, and just never giving up, really. And I think in people who've got ambitions in any industry, but in the creative industry, you've just got to not give up, really.
And believe in yourself.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been great to see you
Thank
again.
you.
And have a great time on Sunday at the Stitch Gathering.
Yeah.
I know that it's going to be brilliant. You're going to love it.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to our generous sponsors, My Bearpaw and Stitchtopia Craft Holidays. With their help, we've been able to bring this podcast to you, and we thoroughly hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, we would love it if you would rate, review and subscribe to the Great British Quilter podcast. Please do tell your friends and spread the quilty love.